Hey everyone, this is Andrew from Sonder, and I'm here to answer all of your burning questions. So the first one I have from Ray Ray Official says, apart from seeing bands perform or taking pictures, what's your favorite thing about Warped Tour? And I thought about this, and I would have to say the community. Warped Tour attracts a kind of passionate type of person, lots of people who are really into music. And even from the first year I went in 2007, I noticed this a lot, and it's a really cool community to kind of immerse yourself in, because obviously there are so many like-minded people around who share the same interests, that sort of thing. So it's just a cool vibe to be around. Everyone's kind of just having a good time, that sort of thing. And even as the years have gone on and they've put different bands on the bills, etc., that community vibe has still kind of remained the same for me. I always notice it from year to year, and it's always been a sort of, I guess you could say, Christmas in July for me, so I would have to go with the community. Second question from Josh Dunn Got Buns, nice by the way, is what are your preferred genre or genres, and who are a few of your favorite bands and singers from that genre? So I definitely say, right off the top of my head, pop punk is a big one. As far as bands from that, I'd say the Wonder Years are big. We Are the In Crowd, I've always been a fan of them for a while. Hey. The Ataris, they've kind of got a cool old school pop punk vibe going on. Those are probably my big three. The Somerset, although they're a little bit more poppier than pop punk. Mayday Parade, A Day to Remember. Some more names that come to the top of my head. Other genres, one genre that really I always stick with, it's kind of a specific genre. It's called uplifting trance. And basically it's a style of trance that makes use of these really sweeping sort of really euphoric melodies. And one of the artists from that genre that I really admire is Andy Blumen. I think he's just the master of that genre. Unfortunately, he hasn't put out much work, but what he has put out is just unbelievable. I also listen to some electronic stuff. Lights obviously is big. Owl City, not really a fan of his newer stuff, but old stuff, Ocean Eyes, the first EP, whatever the hell it's called, can't even remember. But I would say those are probably the biggest genres for me. It's kind of a difficult question to answer because there are so many specific genres I go into, and I want to be here all day. So let's move on to the next one from Hey Paris, who asked, what got you into photography and how long did it take before you got the hang of it? Also, who were you most excited to see at Warped Tour? I actually like getting this question because it's kind of a weird answer. What got me into photography was basically having a little extra spending cash one semester during college and saying, hey, people with nice cameras take nice pictures. I kind of want to give that a try. And that was pretty much it. I started with a Nikon D5100. And when I ordered it, I had no idea it was going to evolve into what it has today. But I knew when I got it that I didn't want to be one of these people who didn't understand how the camera worked. So the weekend that I got it on a Friday night, I believe, and I downloaded some tutorials, one specific to the camera actually, which was nice, but others about exposure, composition, that sort of stuff. And during that weekend, I just buckled down. 2 days straight, I just absorbed all this information. And the technical stuff of photography, ISO, shutter speed, etc., came really easy to me, which apparently doesn't come easy to other people, or it takes a little longer to get into it, but it came pretty easy for me. I understood what was going on. But obviously the more creative aspect of things like composition, framing, rule of thirds, what makes a good photo, whether you have a good eye or not, that kind of stuff is always under development. When I first started taking pictures, I thought they were the coolest thing ever, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good, but you look back at those pictures and it's like, no, they sucked. So I would say it probably took me a good month to get a really good understanding of the technical aspects, and after that, the creative stuff just kind of, I've been building on it year after year. I don't think it'll ever be a done process, but hopefully someday. As far as what band I was most excited to see at Warped Tour, I would say, yeah, Paris, because they had a very meteoric rise. You know, just not even, say, 9 months ago, they weren't really a name which you would instantly recognize, even though they were on 2013 Warped Tour, or 2014 maybe, but they didn't really have the same crowds as they did this year, and I was very interested to see, after their tour with Sleeping with Sirens and Pierce the Veil, to see exactly how much their appeal had grown. And when they stepped on stage in Orlando at Warped Tour this year, and the crowd was just packing it out, it was amazing to see, especially because only 4 or 5 months prior I saw them at a dinky little club in Jacksonville where they packed out roughly a 300 capacity venue, and it wasn't sold out, so it was even a little less than that. So definitely Paris. A lot of the other bands I saw, I've seen them before, and they've kind of already established, the name for themselves, so I wasn't as excited to see them. Anonymous says, not a question, just heart, thank you. I get a lot of those. Someone leaves them in my message box every certain amount of time, or randomly, I don't know, but whoever you are, thank you. You make my day when you leave those messages. Anonymous says, if you could ban one physical thing from Warped Tour, what would it be? I thought about this a lot, and I kind of wonder what falls under the category of physical thing. Like, can I ban mud from Warped Tour? Can I ban overpriced food? I mean, they're physical things, but also kind of not really. But then I decided I would answer this question, as strictly as I could, with a strict interpretation. And I figured I want to ban sweatshirts. Because every year, I see people in 95-degree weather in Florida with humidity indexes off the chart wearing sweatshirts, black sweatshirts, and I don't understand. I mean, I don't get it. If you want to not get sunburned, you can still wear something that's lighter and protects your skin. I just don't get it. If someone who does this wants to enlighten me, please answer, but I get frustrated when I see that. Anonymous says, how likely are you to seg your still photography into video interviews? What hurdles do you think would be the most difficult to overcome if you were to do this? This one's actually really good. In the past, I have done video interviews, I believe with Echo Smith and Sparks the Rescue, but I haven't really gone that path so much, and there are a couple hurdles as to why I haven't, and one of them is accessibility, which this is just something I have to work on and, continue building the Sonder name, but I've noticed that publicists are a little less likely to grant video interviews than they are just giving you a photo pass, so I guess I just don't try for them as much. I'm pretty sure I could set them up, but it's just something I haven't been focusing on lately, so there's that. But there's also kind of a more internal issue for me, which is I really only want to do video interviews with people who I know are going to give me really well thought out intellectual answers, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to be snobby, but basically I don't want, if I were to do a video interview, I wouldn't want it to be flippant. I don't want to ask the questions that are like, if you were a hooker, what would your name be? Because, they're funny and people kind of like them, but I kind of want to go for a more serious discussion if I were to do video interviews, and because of that, I really want to only schedule them with people who I know would give me those kind of answers. So people who take their art very seriously, those kind of people. Which That's a stupid excuse because I'm sure most of the artists I listen to and that I would want to interview are capable of that. It's kind of a block in my head, that sort of thing. But if you want to see more of them, I can certainly try and set up more of them. 23 Stronger Than You said, "How did you get into being around Warped Tour? Who are a few artists you admire on the tour?" And that's a good one too. I first got into Warped Tour just because, as I mentioned earlier, back in 2007, I went because the lineup was good and I liked it. And since then, it's kind of more evolved into going just for the sake of going, even though every year there are a bunch of bands I want to see. But it's been kind of a snowball thing. I went to my first one, and after getting a taste of what it's about, I just kept wanting to go. So that's pretty much it. As for who are a few artists you admire on the tour, well, as far as artists I admire, not want to see, I would say I admire the Wonder Years, just for what they've done with their career so far, the type of music they write. I admire This Wildlife, excuse me. I admire Beautiful Bodies. Their work ethic is pretty good, and I always respect that. I admire As It Is. I admire Paris again because I love watching how they've just risen, to this huge amount of popularity in recent time. I admire Juliet Sims. I admire a lot of the bands on the tour. Those are the ones that come to mind, but basically bands who really work at it, I kind of have an admiration for. Anonymous says, "What's your general process for editing a photo?" And I would say edit to the strengths of the photo. If there's a really good facial expression and the composition isn't already tight, maybe I'll crop it in a little and bring out the detail in their face more. If it's, say, a photo where the colors aren't really working, but there's a lot of good contrast, I'll do a black and white of it, that sort of thing. Most of my photos see some sort of cropping, either to put it on the line of thirds or center the photo. But yeah, I would say editing to the strength of the photo. It's always a process. It's always tweaking settings very specifically to get what I want, but it's a fun sort of process. Anonymous says, question, why are you guys such besties? Adorable besties, sorry. I assume you're talking about Jason, and I don't know. He's the more adorable. I'm just kind of the guy that's always in the background, so I don't know. I met him at a Lights concert, and one of the best friendships of my life has grown out of it, so that's pretty cool. We have a good natural rapport, so I guess that's why we're so adorable besties. Alright everyone, that's a wrap up. Let me know if you enjoyed this. I'm not used to being the guy on camera, so this is a little weird. But if you liked this and enjoyed it, you liked my answers, maybe we can do this again. And if so, just start sending me some more questions, and after I get a certain amount, I'll do another one of these videos. Take care and stay tuned at Sonder.